The story starts with the terrifying atmosphere of a virtual game, which sends chills running down one's spine. This is more about the story of a game than a gamer. The infamous VR game Deep Sky Frontier is our main lead, which attracted millions of players around the world like iron to a magnet, even in its initial days. Besides its magnificent story of humans living peacefully with other creatures, the game has another significant reason for its popularity, which is its villain. This villain goes by the name Zara Halag, who is a living nightmare for the players, a nightmare that can't be defeated. His unfathomable existence and terrifying powers place him above any creature in the game, making him the ultimate, undefeatable final boss. Many players who challenged him yesterday were wiped out, and even some rich kids who can drop a bunch of cash to buy expensive weapons are nothing but small pests against him. Players are also complaining that developers should make adjustments to the game to make it beatable. Otherwise, this game might lose its popularity due to its hardest difficulty challenge. During a stream, the audience notices another player, a fool who is trying to challenge the Demon King. With determination in his eyes and a sharpened sword, Ichino Seizen, our hero and the so-called Battle King, is ready to be beaten by our badass villain. Or will he beat him? Let's go ahead to see where their fight will turn. One of the jealous viewers comments on him having not so good weaponry and a stupid brain to challenge the Demon King. Another points out that it is easier to remark while sitting at home than to challenge the villain of the century by himself. Now the King of Battle and the King of Darkness are facing each other, challenging each other with their eyes. While one is determined to win, the other is sure of his coming victory. Zara is arrogant enough to remind a mere human like our hero that it is his honor to be killed by someone as almighty as the King of Darkness himself. Then, there is a clash of sword and power between both of them. Both are trying to overcome the other with the sheer power of swordsmanship. However, Zara seems tired of this child's play and challenges our MC to unleash his full power while keeping his sword on his shoulder as if giving him the title of his knight. Ruthlessly, he unleashes his power, called Echo of the Abyss, while piercing the heart of the ground, and red raw power oozes out from the ground like crimson blood. With the force of this power, our MC is thrown far away but lands gracefully. Even after witnessing this magnificent display of demonic power, his eyes still have fire in them. He starts to challenge the villain again, but before he can complete his sentence, our badass villain shuts him up with another trick called Bloody Fallen. Now it seems like raw meat and blood are working as a spear piercing his body, and he is writhing in pain. A little distance from his writhing form of him, the villain stands with a nonchalant expression on his face, while remarking on the fragility of human flesh. Now his flesh-like ropes have a flower with eyes on it, meant to keep an eye on his prisoner, who is our MC bound in these meaty ropes. The arrogant villain admits the talent of our MC, who pushed him to the extent that he had to use this flashy and bloody technique against him. To reward him for such an achievement, the King of Darkness is merciful enough to hear him out before he starts begging the mighty King of Darkness to spare his insignificant life. He looked up and scoffed at how pointless it was to remark on something like that. Seeing him still conscious and prideful, Zara is now curious about his courage to talk back to him. He also points out what he can do to him in his immobile state. With an arrogant expression, our player explains his next course of action to the villain, despite being unable to move. It is a summoning technique he has hidden up his sleeve. Arrogant of his power, the Demon King is still uncertain how some vestige of the ruler of angels could defeat him. Suddenly he stops in his tracks to sense the power from the summoning light. Now feeling uncomfortable, he realizes with dread that this summoning is not a common one. It is the summoning of a real angel. With that, a warrior angel in all her glory appears. Also called the Mother of Light, Kate is the ruler of the angels and has come here to teach a lesson or two to the King of Darkness. However, the arrogant king still persists that both Kate and our hero's power are not enough to defeat his mighty power, even though he has just witnessed his talent to summon not only a very real angel, but the cream of the crop. Suddenly, the ethereal form of the angel turns crimson with the anger she is feeling now. She starts to chant words like tainted and how her sacred treasure has been defiled. While she turns red with anger, our MC is planning to defeat the Demon King at the right time. His plan is to make her go berserk so she can teach a lesson to the Demon King, making his defeat easier for our MC. While excitedly going ahead towards his victory, he realizes that he went to overboard to make her infuriated. Zara, who is now shielding himself from a powerful attack from Kate, asks him about his method of pushing her into this berserk state. He answers that he has done nothing but tainted the sacred treasure of the ruler of the angels, which is actually a sword he is carrying. Now this sword is cursed. This enrages the villain, who is now ready to finish him off while carrying a dark energy and an evil smile. Now our desperate player and his familiar berserk angel are ready to slay the Demon King. With an evil glint in his eyes, our dearest player states seriously how the destiny of the Demon King is sealed by him. After a while, it is seen that the player finally defeats the Demon King. We don't know how it was conspired, but it happens. The game gives a notification that was never given before that finally, someone has defeated Zara, the Demon King. With this notification, Ichino stands there with the glory of a slayer, a suitable title for someone who slays the Demon Lord. Not only this, he also earns a number of other badass titles, like the one who has slain the Demon King, and especially someone who is the first in the history of this game. Now, our guy's true otaku side shows after seeing his cool fighter persona during the game. After defeating the Demon King, the first thing he utters is how the Demon King is an overrated villain who is not so great. However, with this, he lets out a yell of happiness and shouts how he has become the strongest player in history. With an overexcited face that makes his face chubby, he claims to have become a stronger player in history. This is the feast that glorifies him as a true otaku. Afterward, he strikes another pose like a model while chanting the words, "strongest player," and how good it sounds to hear it. Suddenly, he stops posing like a fool and hears the beep of a notification. For his achievement, our overreacted guy gets a gift from Mr. Training. Like a good gamer who relishes the gifts from his fans, he decides to give a thank you note to someone who spent money to watch his streaming. However, with this, he gets another notification, which he considers a message from the management. All written in red, this notification, or should we call it a question, looks like a red signal. Ironically, the question has the same first line he utters after defeating the Demon King, that the Demon King is not that great. Is the system reading the mind of our player, or is there a hidden camera in his room? Unbeknownst to this, he reads further the notification, in which he is offered a new destiny as someone. Now he has the choice to accept or reject it. He thinks this text is a muddled combination of phrases, but the new destiny thing grabs his attention. However, being an eager player, he decides to accept the offer. He reasons with himself that it is a gift, and there is no reason to refuse a gift. Our dumb guy doesn't realize that someone could gift wrap a bomb and send it to him, and he doesn't need to accept it just because it is a gift. However, it must be his instinct as a regular otaku streamer to accept it. After accepting it, his screen is loading. During this loading time, with a terrified expression, our slow-witted guy finally notices how the notification uses the same sentence he used after defeating the Demon King. The reality hits him as he realizes that someone might have overheard his words, but he has no idea how they knew exactly what he said. While he is thinking this, his own picture appears on the screen, addresses him with a spooky smile, informing him that they can hear it from the game. Suddenly, his handsome face turns into a horrified ghost who asks him to play together. Ichinos is petrified to fully comprehend the situation. There is a storm coming from his PC that sucks him up like a hungry monster. After a while, our MC game shows us the front of the Demon King's castle. Like how intimidated the Demon King was, the front part of the castle is protected by goblins and a tigress. However, now after the Demon King's death, the goblins do not want to protect this place anymore. With a menacing face, the tiger looks at the goblins who had dared to utter Zara's name so casually, maybe no longer afraid of him as he is already dead meat. Its intimidating aura works against the goblins, and they fly away while fumbling like cowards, saying they will remember this. The tiger, with its all-ethereal beauty, looks at the castle and is determined to protect it no matter the cost. However, suddenly, something or someone catches its attention. It becomes clear that this new person is none other than our MC, who is now reincarnated as the Demon King as his new destiny. On the other hand, now the tiger has a cat-like, funny, and confusing expression on its face. Meanwhile, our new Demon King looks at his status with an astonished expression. It seems like he is now a cursed Demon King. Over the top, he has a power level of 9099, which is pretty badass in itself, but his power is sealed. It is no use having such power when it is locked down. It is like being the owner of a billion-dollar property, but being unable to use a penny from it. Our guy is also having the same feeling while looking at his status screen. Now he has zero experience with all of the nonsense added to his status. Now, our dearest tiger notices his attire and accuses him of stealing the armor of the Demon King. Our little tiger is quite angry and jumps on our MC to avenge its dead Zara-sama. On the other hand, first Ichinos is terrified to see it jumping at him, but with a cocky expression, he remembers that he is the Demon King himself. So, with overrated confidence, he points his finger at the meerkat and tries to shoot the attack of the Echo of the Abyss. However, comically, things don't turn out as expected, and now his hand is within the jaw of the tiger. Now he is shaking in the tiger's jaw, like it is playing with its favorite toy while he is trying to comprehend his reason for unable to use his power. Now his screen finally gives him some solace while his intuition tells him that his attack is blocked. He notices that he also gets a skill called Shadow Enhance. Now he understands that he needs to learn everything from scratch, a big thing for the strongest player. Anyhow, he uses this newly acquired skill called Shadow Enhance, which leaves the tiger baffled. Now he is behind it, thinking arrogantly that no matter what, he is still the Demon King despite his level. As his system detects his arrogance, it changes color from blue to red. It politely reminds him that he is a cursed entity, so his Shadow Enhance skill now changes into Rock Guard skill, in which hardening will start. After hearing about this skill, he himself looks petrified. Again, the tiger tries to attack him, and with dread, he realizes that he can't dodge it this time. Suddenly he notices his new skill, which turns his hand into rock. He plans to endure the tiger's bite since its bite will be weakened. It seems that his system is his biggest enemy. As soon as he plans this, his screen shows him his limitation. The Rock Guard skill is going to end soon. Now he realizes that he has no choice but to fight this faithful tiger of the Demon King by himself. With this thought, he punches the tiger again. Now, with a blush on its face, the tiger has a sensation of recognizing its master. Suddenly, its appearance starts to change, and it turns out to be none other than a girl. With a blush and an elated expression, she looks at our player and finally accepts him as the Demon King. With a bewildered expression, he realizes that the former Demon King had a tiger girl as his subject. Now, she is all clingy to him while expressing her pleasure at seeing him back. However, our guy doesn't share her sentiments and asks about her identity, telling her to stay away. She introduces herself as Helog and asks with hope if he remembers her. To remind him of her memory, she suddenly changes her appearance both in tiger and human form, and she reminds him that she is none other than the Demon Tiger, a chief of the Beastmen as well as his right hand. Looking at her, he expresses wide-eyed how much her face has changed. She replies that it is because this happened 100 years ago. She then explains the incident from 100 years ago, in which he was defeated by the ruler of the angels named Kate. Consequently, the Demon King's forces were scattered after losing their king. She explains how the newly crowned ruler of the angels, Bel, decided it was time for a good old-fashioned purge against the demon race. And without their unfathomably terrifying devil of a king to lead them, the poor little demon spawns couldn't even begin to defend themselves against the glorious angels. Soon enough, around 6 or 7 hopeless demon leaders were defeated by angels. Clearly, leadership skills were in short supply. They waved the white flag and surrendered to Bel. Word spread fast, and in no time, everyone else started bending the knee to the angelic overlords. Apparently, self-preservation became the current trend in the underworld. Only the Beastmen under her command are the ones who stand against the might of the angels, but soon they are also captured by the beautiful angels, literally. To have some twisted kind of revenge, the Queen of Angels curses him to turn into a woman at that time. With a damn serious face, she asks whether he understands while drawing a picture on the sand, which gives competition to preschoolers of how things have occurred. Nervously and very politely, he tries to tell her not to do the drawing ever again, no matter how good it is. Now he is thinking, while being curious about the fact that he, as a hero of their story, is not mentioned despite defeating Zara. Not only this, another strange thing is that 100 years have passed since the incident of his defeat. While he is thinking all those muddled up things, a quest appears like a bad news. Now, as the new Demon King, he has a task: to free the Beastmen who had been freedom fighters on his behalf and regain control over those poor creatures. It is now him or the angels. His rewards will be determined according to the work he puts into the task. While looking at the task screen, he decides to do it as it says. In other words, our MC is going to be a go-with-the-flow guy until he has to stick in this world of screwed-up fantasy for demons. Then, annoyingly, he rejects this idea while thinking about what if he refuses. Indeed, he doesn't need to stick his head where it doesn't belong. Besides, he doesn't know what will happen to his neck when he stakes it for the sake of some beastmen without knowing the extent of his cursed curse. The red eye light on his screen politely warns him about the penalty if he is unable to accomplish this quest. The penalty includes punishment like the cursed blood. This involves physical pain, slowed growth, bleeding, and regular migraine pain. Not only this, but the quest shamelessly tells him these things are going to be permanent. Nervously and angrily, he thinks about how this system, as his enemy, tries to force further curses on him. Why does he need to take on this headache of a quest, which feels like a millstone around his neck? He decides to ignore it while thinking he can outsmart this so-called system. But the system is a real boss who royally tells him that his time to complete the quest, mercifully or not so mercifully, is less than 40 minutes. Now our guy is bummed to see that he has no choice but to begin. The system again politely asks, as if giving him a choice, whether he likes to start the quest or not. Huffing and giving up on the tactic of this so-called system, he decides to choose yes and asks the system whether it's happy now. We don't know if the system is happy or not, but it also gives a glimpse of the rewards he is going to get according to his achievement of the task. Now the system finally shows him mercy, allowing him to choose either to unlock part of the Demon King's power or acquire some information that might help him return to his home. Remember that some is key here. We don't know when this so-called system is going to double-cross our guy. The hero's eyes widen with shock to know that there is a way to go back home, but he thinks about the other option. Our MC's face lights up with greedy excitement as he dreams of living a life of lavish luxury as a demon king in this world. Then he gets a reality check, realizing that he needs to go back to his real life. After this reality check, he turns to his right hand and asks whether she would like to lend him her power. She agrees wholeheartedly. He gets overexcited and chooses a particular reward for this quest. However, our dumb guy doesn't bother to listen to her completely and is now going to pay the cost. She explains that although she is more than willing to give him her strength, due to the curse, she not only became a female but also greatly decreased her power. In other words, she is no longer the chief. At that, our guy is mad as a hornet to hear this, as she is no longer the chief. She tries to explain that he can meet the new chief now, who would be overjoyed to know that the King of Darkness has returned. Suddenly, she hoists his feet onto her shoulder, leaving him baffled and dangling comically in the air. Overexcited, she charges toward the Beastman's settlement with his feet flapping around like a bizarre flag, as if he's a human luggage. The screen shifts to the ethereal building of the angelic temple. A mysterious man is sitting in front of the game of chess while informing the current ruler that the Demon King has been resurrected. The ever-arrogant angel replies that it is something they had already predicted. While lounging leisurely on the status of an angel, a beautiful angel orders her subordinate to relay this information to others. The subordinate replies that he has already taken a step on her behalf. She finally deems it time to open her eyes and states that she will take another significant step, to kill a demon lord in a way that will bring the most despair to him. She evilly replies that he was someone who killed Kate, so she needs to take revenge by humiliating him in front of his beloved subjects. The dark, mysterious subordinate evilly tells her that everyone will be to her liking. Another scene shows the dark and terrifying east of Dragon Tomb Center in Olga Dragon Valley. A mysterious man is standing on the corpse of the dragon with a sword in both hands, like some dark shadow. Another man approaches to inform him about a new order from the angels, as they need to assassinate the recently resurrected Demon King. In other words, our MC in his villain form. The gleaming red eyes of this mysterious person shine with satisfaction at the news as he is finally going to rid himself of his boredom. It seems this person has a twisted hobby of playing with the lives of others, and he is eagerly going to be paid for his marvelous pastime. With a cool expression, he jumps from the dragon's corpse and lands gracefully in front of his minion. He then instructs his subordinates to carry the information to the Dark Moon's third squad. With a menacing expression on his face, he declares that they are going to kill them all. The name of this entity is finally revealed, which is Gyro, known as the Black Crow of the Dark Moon with a level of 32. Now we don't know how this Dark Crow, a hired goon, is going to deal with our player, who has a level thousands of times higher than his. Do the angels know about abilities are sealed, or are they sending Gyro to his doom? Another scene reveals the Beastmen's residence in the Kazdar mountain range. People are huddled around a statue of the angel, treating her like their personal superhero. It's almost laughable how they're so brainwashed, and they're convinced she's their sole savior, as if there's no one else who could possibly keep them safe. Meanwhile, two trees are shambling around, and lo and behold, they have feet. The Beastmen are bustling around these trees, which are actually our dear Demon King and his ex-right hand. The ex-right hand, clearly not impressed with his tactic, asks why her master is hiding behind trees like a scaredy cat instead of strolling into the village with his head held high. Our MC, now in full coward mode, thinks about the flag waving with the slogan, "Kill Zara." He is seen as soon as he has entered into the village. He grimly reminds himself the quest timing hanging over him like a ticking time bomb. As the minutes tick by, our brave hero is left to analyze the Beastmen's behavior, because clearly, that's the most pressing concern right now. Basically, it is natural in games for the losers to serve the victorious side of the battle, but what he is witnessing is something else. Just because they are serving, it doesn't mean they have to worship the ruler. He wonders about their reason for changing their beliefs according to the wishes of the glorious angel. After analyzing the current situation of the Beastmen who were previously loyal to him, he concludes that he needs to be cautious of this angel ruler, whose accomplishments are bigger than life itself. While looking around, he is thinking of ways to make Mammon Chief once again as his first goal. However, there is a major obstacle to doing this, as the tribe is now considering him their enemy. He then turns to her and asks if she was stripped of the position of chief because of her loyalty to him, to which she answers affirmatively. After hearing her confirmation, he tries to assure her that she will be rewarded for her loyalty and given her former position in the tribe. She now has tears in her eyes after listening to his promise and deems herself undeserving of such rewards. Then he comes to the main point and asks about the current residence of the chief. She answers that it is the house with the red flag. The author at that time wants to show a red flag to our MC, but he is too focused on winning the quest to notice such trivial things. Both of them start to crawl towards the house in order to convince the cream of the crop first, then to convince the underlings afterward. Before they can proceed further, they are attacked by a number of Aruzi. Before any Arfoe can hurt him, she comes forward and takes the injury upon herself. After witnessing her bravery and loyalty, he is concerned about her, but she tries to shake off his concern, ever selfless when it comes to him. At this moment, a new character with a mocking tone and evil glint in his eyes enters the scene. This person goes by the name of Enchi and is titled Sirius, with a level of 32. Enchi mocks him while saying the angels were spot on calling him a coward since he himself sees the new Demon King is now hiding behind a girl. Then he turns to Mammon and asks her to step aside as he is going to kill this demon lord for the sake of his beloved goddess angel Belle. However, our courageous Mammon reminds him of his status as a slave and remains firm in her loyalty. Meanwhile, ignorant of their banter, Ichinos now has an annoyed expression on his face after realizing that the angels know about his existence. Following that, Enchi orders his lackeys to capture both of them. Always the loyal tigress, she stands before her master to protect him at any cost. She even goes to the extent of threatening her tribe fellows for him. However, our gutsy boy has another plan. He now adopts the aura of a demon king and pretends to be mighty and confident to scare the Beastmen. For this purpose, he tells his right-hand woman to get back as these lowly creatures are going to face someone mighty like a demon lord. Now this gets Enchi's attention, who is bewildered to see the change in the aura of this new demon king. With that, his ever-enemy of a system turns friendly and congratulates him on acquiring a new skill, as he has successfully intimidated his enemies. Similarly, everyone is petrified in their place after hearing his threat. On the other hand, our boy gets an amazing skill, albeit for only 15 seconds. This skill is called Dark Lord's Walk, which is a step suitable for a majestic presence for a demon lord. To activate this skill, he just needs to stomp his foot, and following that, wherever he walks for 15 seconds, his enemies will be petrified with fear. He's very smug while reading about his new skill, so he decides to try it out. He dramatically stomps both of his feet and roars at the Beastmen as if he's auditioning for a role as the world's scariest monster. For a while, everyone is spellbound by his new skill and cowers under the pressure of his overpowered presence. But our boy is not that lucky. As soon as he starts to feel smug about the effect he's set on the Beastmen, he gets a notification about the activation of the curse. This curse is going to reverse what he had acquired through his skill. In other words, now the Beastmen will not be terrified of him anymore. A feeling of dread washes over him as soon as he realizes what is about to happen next. He immediately turns to his loyal subordinate and suggests she flee from there instantly. However, she stays there, not understanding the situation. Meanwhile, he gets a notification that he is going to be taunted instead of intimidating due to the effect of the skill. With this, everyone who was terrified of him seconds ago now turns to him with killing intent. Another notification pops in like a bad omen. This notification informs him about the success of provocations, which will last for 1 minute. Now our cursed player realizes that he is finished. Beastmen rush at him with provoked expressions and start to use him as their favorite punching bag. At the same time, a concerned Mammon stays at one side like a scaredy cat. While being punched by everyone, Ichinos contemplates using his skill as a last resort. He hopes it will work if he uses every fiber of his power into it. With this thought in mind, he stands again and roars at the Beastman who dares to challenge the great Demon King. While trying to intimidate the Beastman, he thinks about his loyal fellow Mammon, for whose sake he is trying to avoid fighting. On the other side, Mammon realizes with dread how hard the Demon King is pushing himself. Meanwhile, Enchi interrupts her thoughts, warning her to stop this useless fight. He adds that it is their chance to shine if they finish off the eternal enemy of the angels. After hearing his suggestion, Mammon suddenly gets an idea to finish off this battle. She shouts at everyone to get their attention, and announces that they are going to end this fight with a 100-beast duel. This new announcement also makes Ichinos anxious about the upcoming battle. After hearing this new twist in the story, Enchi accuses our Beast Woman of mentioning this challenge because she wants to buy time for the Demon King. However, before he can even touch her, someone enters the scene who stops Enchi from raising his hand against Ichinosi and Mammon, as it's against their rules of the tribe. This new character is the elder of the tribe named Dodson. This person is the first one who greets Zara politely while turning to his fellow tribesmen. He reminds them how this duel is not just a regular one. Instead, it's a duel where one has to stake their life in it. While getting down from his ride, he asks whether they are sure they want to do it. Looking at him, Ichinose concludes he must be the current chief of the tribe, which is confirmed by Mammon. The chief wants to see Mammon, but he's so ancient that he can barely stay upright and heads in the wrong direction searching for his old chief. When someone finally points him to the right spot where Mammon is actually standing, he confidently claims he knew all along, leaving everyone to sweat drop. On the other side, the so-called strongest player understands the gravity of the situation and decides to take this chance in his favor. He asks the chief whether they can do the duel after Mammon is healed. Enchi objects to his request because they are the ones who initiated the duel. However, their plan backfires when the chief gives them medicine to cure Mammon. He catches the bottle swiftly while thinking about the chief's motives for giving them medicine and agreeing to the duel. Then he turns to Mammon in order to pull an arrow out of her body, apologizing to her for the pain she has to bear because of him. At the same time, his mind doesn't rest for a moment, analyzing and pondering the situation as it seems like they have to fight the duel. The 100-beast duel is regarded very highly in the community of the Beastmen as it is used to settle every dispute. While pulling out the arrow from her shoulder and pouring medicine on her wounds, he thinks about doing this duel in order to gain favor from the Beastmen. While tending to her wounds, he can smell the blood and thinks about how much this world seems like the real one. Besides, no matter which world people live in, survival of the fittest is the first rule, and one has to be ready to fight for this purpose. After he is done with her, she weakly suggests he flee while she distracts her tribe fellows. He is confused by her claim. She explains that, because of their current state, they are not in a condition to fight this duel, so she is ready to put her life on the line in order to protect him. For a moment, there is a blush on his face. The next moment, he pulls her cheeks while claiming he won't ever leave her alone. Having a scary expression on his face, he reminisces about the day when he defeats almost every race during his time as a player. Now he finally says that he can win this duel. With that, he laughs maniacally while showing off his cool pose. With a red face, she is happy to see him becoming so kind. However, the downside of him becoming kind is that he is not so strong now. Afterwards, the chief calls for them as it is finally time for the beginning of the 100-beast duel. After a while, they are shown to the arena where the duel is going to be held. The chief starts to explain the methods of holding the 100-beast duel, in which the fights will be on land, in the air, and in water. The challenging party will choose the type of battle. If the challenger wins all of the battles, they will win, no matter if the other party is alive or dead. The winning party will be granted a wish. Meanwhile, Mammon looks at him, satisfied to see the look of his confidence. On the other side, Ichinos is confident enough because of his previous experience as a player and his knowledge of the rules of the duel. So, he lines up, knowing who is going to be his first opponent. However, his bad luck kicks in again as an elephant-like Beastman comes into the arena as their opponent for the land battle. He is flabbergasted to see this new presence in front of him, as he knows from his knowledge that it should be the Shadow from Wolf unit as his opponent. With a scary expression, Banda is ready to battle with them in an arm wrestling match. Both our hero and heroine are scared to see him ready to beat them to a pulp. Before starting the battle, he whispers in her ear about the whereabouts of the real representative of the land, who was Shadow. She informs him that he died in battle against the angels. Then she tells him about the other representatives who also met the same fate as Shadow. Now it seems like his knowledge regarding the game is useless, as they are already 100 years in the future. Now, our boy's expression changes as his overconfidence is going to kill him. The chief announces the beginning of the battle, and a table is placed between them. While analyzing his situation, our boy tries to console himself, thinking that no matter how strong this elephant named as Banda person looks, his strength is sealed, just like his own. So, there might be some chance of him winning this battle. But as soon as Banda puts his heavy arm on the table, his hope disappears. No doubt this elephant of a person could easily take him and Mammon at the same time. With anxiety, he can almost see his death right in front of him. Meanwhile, Mammon is looking at him with concern. Then she whispers to him mysteriously about their plan, which gets Ichinos' attention. He remembers her words from a little while ago when she recommended he flee while she could distract him. With wide eyes, he realizes that this is exactly what Mammon is trying to do. As a last resort, he decides to leave, as our poor boy has no choice in this regard. At this moment, he is sure of their defeat. But as soon as Mammon holds Banda's hand, he steps forward and puts his hand on Banda with a smile of confidence. No matter what, this guy is a hero, and escaping is something that doesn't suit a hero like him. He sharply states that his original plan is to fight in her stead. On the other hand, he thinks about running away. But on the other hand, he knows that running once means you'll keep running away for your whole life. Banda is flattered to be fighting the Demon King by himself. However, the ever-irritating pest Enchi interjects and objects to Ichinos taking Mammon's place. He asks Banda if he has a problem with it, but the elephant beastman is more than happy to fight with our new Demon King. At this moment, our player is throwing everything he's got into the attack, feeling like his arm might just ripped off from his body. Suddenly, his eternal nemesis named as the system decides to show up uninvited, popping out of nowhere like it's got nothing better to do, and asks if he wants to activate his petrification skill. Now, our boy suddenly remembers he has that skill. With the urgency of a man dangling off a cliff, he immediately answers yes while using every ounce of strength to keep blocking Banda's hand and trying to get the upper hand. The annoying red notification finally turns blue, and his petrification skill is set to kick in for a whole 10 seconds. It's not much, but beggars can't be choosers in a crisis, and our hero knows better than to look a gift horse in the mouth. He is putting in so much effort not to be defeated by him, but as soon as the petrification skill activates and his arm turns into stone, he lets out a sigh of relief. On the other side, Enchi and the chief, who are spectators of the show, predict Banda as the winner of the match. However, while looking ahead, the chief does not agree with him. At this moment, Mammon also points out the stone arm of the Demon King as there is still a chance for him to win. Meanwhile, Banda also acknowledges the Demon King as a worthy opponent, but states that he would finally defeat him. With a sigh of disappointment, our loser concludes that this petrification skill is useless for this match. His red notification of an enemy again informs him that it is going to level up the petrification, because it has detected the overload on his arm. With an excited expression, he decides to turn the tables with a counterattack. The arena becomes a bursting field of power. Now Enchi is also impressed and awestruck by the scene in front of him, as the Demon King finally does what is suitable for his status. In other words, holding his own against someone as strongly built as Banda, who has the power to move mountains. At that moment, he looks at everyone with an annoyed expression. He remembers what his blue friendly notification told him, that now his petrification has reached level 1 and hardness level 10. As a gamer, he knows the golden rule of leveling up, which is the more you fight, the stronger you get. He remembers the day he enters the game and faces Mammon in her tiger form. He realizes at that moment there's a huge difference between playing a virtual reality game and experiencing all of this firsthand. Even in the game, he is cursed, but it's a different story when you do something like this in front of your PC versus doing it in reality. While looking at the hand of Banda, he realizes that no matter what this world throws at him, he needs to survive, as if it's the rule of every world. He also realizes with relief that Banda can't move his arm, so he has a chance to drag it out until Banda runs out of strength. However, this ever-helpful pain-in-the-neck system decides to drop another bombshell. Now, as he has used a lot of mana, his petrification is going to wear off soon, as if he needed more anxiety right now. He wants to shout in frustration but stops as soon as he notices Banda. He notices that his strength is waning and wonders if he is tired. Our player wonders if luck might actually be throwing him a bone for once. But his bad luck kicks in, and now Banda claims to take this match more seriously after witnessing his petrification skill. In a rage, he activates his beast mode. Suddenly, he feels his hand turn into an elephant. Literally this time. He now looks at Banda, who is now fully transformed into an elephant. The ground beneath their feet trembles under the sheer force of Banda's power, like an earthquake on steroids. Meanwhile, Enchi is busy shielding the chief from the flying rubble and choking dust with his wings, playing the unlikely hero. No one had a clue Banda was packing this kind of punch. But of course, there's always a catch. This power of the enemy of an elephant comes with a nasty side effect as it won't last long. Looks like Mammon knows this loophole as well, and she yells to her master to keep stalling because Banda's power-up is on a countdown. Just one more minute and it's game over. Hearing this makes him want to scream. His hand feels like it's caught in a vice, every nerve screaming in agony. But then, a light bulb goes off in his head as he finally gets an idea, and he's going to try something crazy. Finally, our hero shows he has some tricks in his sleeve. Because, let's be honest, we were starting to lose a little faith in him. Suddenly, a burst of powerful energy emanates from the battleground, and people are wondering about its source as Banda has time left to revert back. The energy surging through the battlefield is so intense that even the Beastmen like Enchi, Chief, and Mammon struggle to stay on their feet. The ground feels like it's constantly shifting beneath them, making it nearly impossible to keep their balance. Both Enchi and Mammon can't help but worry about their ancient chief, who's seen better days and looks like he might blow away in the chaos. Meanwhile, the whole body of the Demon King turns into stone. After the dust clears out, Banda claims to give up, leaving everyone startled. Now fully turned to stone, there is the announcement of the winner, Zara, the Demon King. Even in his petrified form, he is relieved to finally win a hopeless battle. On the other hand, the Beastmen are overexcited to see this, as they convey their hope to defeat the Demon King in the next battle. They are eager to carry out this battle immediately. Mammon, witnessing his victory, rushes to him, exclaiming how he has won. On the other hand, the chief, who is analyzing the situation, wonders about the consequences this new Demon King will bring for the Beastmen race. He ponders how his men have forcefully submitted to the angels. He wonders if the Demon King will become their salvation or not. With Ichinos and Mammon by his side, he realizes that even though he's technically won, his victory comes with a heavy price. His body has turned to stone. Seeing no other choice, he asks if she can carry him. Mammon happily agrees, but it quickly becomes clear that lugging around a guy who's now essentially a human boulder is easier said than done. His body is hard and heavy as stone, literally, and she can't move an inch of him. Clinging to him, she suggests how cool and hard his body is, prompting a remark from him about how her comment is misleading. The red notification bar informs him that his petrification mode will wear off after 13 minutes. Now, if it needs to wear off, it will take 13 minutes. Otherwise, this technique is granted to our hero for less than 13 seconds, when he needs it. Nothing like a little irony to cap off his day of getting turned into a human statue. After 13 minutes, he, along with the other Beastmen and the chief, are standing inside some volcano's cave. He asks how much time it will take them to reach their next arena for the battle. With a chuckle, the chief replies that they have already reached it. The magma ahead of them is the venue for their new match. With a confused expression on his face, he looks around, where there is only scorching heat present. Suddenly, another new character appears, probably the representative of Water Tribe. This mysterious character takes off his cloak, revealing himself to be a water-type beastman. He seriously states that the next test is going to be one of endurance for our boy. Let's see where it will take him, and how his bad luck is going to be unhelpful for him. The screen freezes as the lava bubbles and roils, seemingly holding its breath as if waiting for someone to either get burned to a crisp or tough it out. The simple rule of this match is all about endurance. Whoever endures the heat of magma and stays there longer will be the winner. His opponent turns to him with a taunting tone, suggesting that he could give up if he wanted. With a creepy smirk, he scoffs at the idea, saying he's actually thrilled about the prospect of a hot pot of seafood. Meanwhile, he ponders his knowledge of the Water Tribe, who are heavily affected by their mental state. This might be a reason of his taunt, as their emotional well-being can make or break their entire strategy. His opponent, who goes by the name Wara, looks at him with a scrutinizing gaze, expecting him to be bothered by the contest, but he isn't. Still, Wara mocks him, daring him to open his mouth while he's surrounded by magma. He taunts him about how his mouth is bigger than life itself. Now the chief interjects, as both agree to the terms of the match, so it is time to start. Both the Demon King and Wara jump inside the boiling, not-so-inviting magma. With a flair for drama, Wara emerges from the magma, striking a pose as if he's gliding through a luxury pool rather than bubbling lava. It's like he's auditioning for a swimwear ad, and the crowd eats it up. The cheers are deafening, proving for him. Meanwhile, there is no trace of the Demon King, which only worries Mammon. With a cheeky grin, Wara turns to Mammon and asks if she can sense the agony of the magma that silences any screams. He adds with a smirk that maybe the Demon King's tongue has been fried right off by the molten lava. Everyone expects him not to come out and waits in anticipation. However, suddenly his leg appears, followed by his whole body. Our challenger emerges from the magma with a dramatic flare, as if he's just taking a leisurely swim, striking the coolest pose imaginable. He is now joyously swimming in the pool of lava, which leaves Mammon happy and our enemies sweat dropping. Suddenly, the devil of a Demon King disappears inside the magma, leaving Wara baffled. It seems like our boy finally has a plan to defeat his opponent. The greatest weakness of the Water Tribe lies in their tails, and he is now rushing toward it, hidden in the pool of magma. Unfortunately, Wara detects his presence and comes out of the magma, wary of a sneak attack by the Demon King. Looking at him, Wara thinks the Demon King will last long since this is an endurance test, so he decides to go on the offensive to win the match, even if it means attacking to kill. But the tables turn when, in a ridiculous twist, our happy-go-lucky Demon King scoops Wara up and flips him upside down. While doing this, he smugly recalls his knowledge that the Water Tribe can't handle magma for too long. So, he casually asks the guy his secret for surviving this little sauna session. Wara claims it's all thanks to his rigorous training that he can endure such high heat. Then, he asks our guy why he seems so calm, and the Demon King bursts into maniacal laughter, taunting, like he would going to tell him. Meanwhile, the system finally recognizing that our poor player is roasting alive, so it decides to step in and activates a curse called Song of Snow's Lament, which miraculously neutralizes the scorching heat in his body. On the other hand, our king casually tosses Wara away like yesterday's garbage, thinking he didn't have much choice but to use that little trick to beat someone from the Water Tribe. On the other hand, Wara is also determined to win this match for his tribe. It seems like Wara has been using a stone called the Frigid Stone for this endurance test. The stone is given to Water Tribe Beastmen to help them train in high temperatures and give them immunity to the magma. On the other side of the mountain of lava, a bunch of goons are seen. These people are the same ones from the Dark Moon Squad. The so-called Black Crow asks about the whereabouts of our dear Demon King. His minions inform him about the match he is going through under the volcano. It seems like the unfathomable Demon King is now the most wanted target in the universe of this game. Upon learning this information, Giro thinks it is the perfect timing for him since Ichinose is already going through a lot, making it easier to finish him off. Now all he has to do is add a cherry on top after all the exhaustion the Demon King has already endured. With that in mind, he throws 3 kunais while activating a secret technique called Jingan no Jutsu. It seems like this game finally has some useful characters with good techniques, especially someone who is a ninja. Let's see how this ninja will contribute to the bad luck of the hero of the story. Gyro lackeys are shocked to see the ninja technique he is going to use against the Demon King. This technique is some kind of explosive technique that will create an explosion big enough to turn everything around it into ashes. Besides, he has set this explosion in the heart of the Beastmen tribe village. He coldly states that the so-called ruler of the angels has apparently ordered him to kill the Demon King, but, in reality, also to eliminate everyone associated with him. In other words, this means that the explosion they've set up is powerful enough to destroy the entire Beastman village, leaving no one behind. Meanwhile, at the Beastman settlement, everyone is going about their daily life. Kids are playing on the street. In one corner, a pregnant lady is talking sweet nonsense to her unborn baby. She has decided on 2 names for her baby and plans to discuss them with the father of the child when he comes back. Overall, everything is going perfectly in the village, like a normal life going on. They are unaware of the disaster they are going to face in a while. In the middle of the village, the angel statue is seen crying tears of blood, which seems like a symbol of a bad omen. Meanwhile, with Ichinose and Wara, it's been 30 minutes since the second contest began. Both contestants are still taunting each other, pretending to be so cool in the magma while secretly burning up inside. This time, literally, our guy is acting like he's been chilling in the magma for 100 years, taunting his opponent by saying he doesn't look too energetic even though only 30 minutes have passed. But inside, he's anxiously counting the seconds, not sure if he can make it until the countdown ends. On the other side, our beast contestant is practically roasting alive and angrily asks if he did something to the magma. He thinks that must be the case because, while the magma was already hot, the heat has now cranked up to a whole new level of unbearable, making him wonder if his frigid stone skill is even working. With a cringe-worthy laugh, our favorite player suggests his opponent just give up and end this madness. Inchi, on the other hand, scoffs at his laugh, imagining he won't be able to laugh like that during the third vinegar contest with him. Right then, his system chimes in with a warning about a sudden spike in temperature, leaving him confused. He turns to Wara and asks what's going on. Wara, looking like he's about to pass out from the heat, replies that the volcano is about to erupt soon. This news hits him like a truck, realizing what's about to go down. He immediately warns everyone to evacuate because the volcano is going to blow any moment. Everyone is stunned by his announcement. There's a magma eruption behind them, and he supports Wara's plan to escape from it as it's already starting. After a while, they are seen outside on the road with Enchi. They are thankful to the Demon King for his quick thinking, which got them out in time. Mammon turns to look back at her dear village, showing her concern for it. The lava is boiling and erupting right in front of their eyes. Meanwhile, in the village, everyone is running to save themselves from the lava rushing toward them. On the other side, Enchi sees his wife, who was the same pregnant woman we saw earlier, and rushes to help her. Ichinos notices that the wind from Enchi's wings could make the fire stronger and tries to warn him about this. But Enchi doesn't listen and keeps going to save his family. The chief and the others are also worried and express the need to save them. At that moment, he gives a fierce look to his loyal subordinate, and she understands him before he says a word. Then both of them get down from the large beast with determination to save lives. Mammon is now in her full beast form, and he is riding on her. They immediately go to Enchi's family and offer them a tiger ride. He helps them onto her back, and they race ahead. Their next plan is to head to the highest ground to be safe from the magma. After saving the woman and her child, who thank them, they rush off again to save others. They are moving urgently, knowing they need to rescue everyone because the eruption is getting worse. And at this rate, the village will soon be destroyed. While rushing ahead, our guy's mind is busy pondering the reason behind the sudden eruption of Mount Kakaro. From his knowledge, this mountain erupts every 1,500 years. He wonders if he is the cause of this eruption, because his resurrection might have disrupted the balance of the universe. Currently, his system is also counting down because his time to complete the quest is running out. He remembers the challenge, that he needs to save everyone to gain recognition from the Beastmen. He gets an idea and tells Mammon to stay there while he tries to stop the eruption. The chief and Wara, surprisingly concerned, ask him about his plan to handle the eruption. With a solemn expression, he replies that he'll figure something out. After all, it's not like he became the Demon King for nothing. Wara, eyes blazing with determination, offers to help, ready to jump into the fray. Meanwhile, over on the other side with the Dark Moon Squad, Black Crow is watching the burning village with an expression as indifferent as someone staring at their morning coffee. All he cares about is that their so-called Bel-sama will be quite pleased since they've managed to burn down the entire Beastman village along with the Demon Lord inside it. Another one of his lackeys reports in, smugly mentioning that the village exits have been blocked according to his report. Gyro is thrilled to hear this, satisfied that they've caged the Demon King inside the village like a rat in a trap. One of his men, who's been keeping an eye on the village through a telescope, reports that he's spotted the Demon King still inside. Gyro, thinking he's got everything under control, asks which direction Ichinose is heading. His minion hesitates, clearly knowing the answer won't sit well with him. The answer is that Ichinose is heading straight for Mount Kakaro, leaving their leader flabbergasted and unsure how his perfect plan just blew up in his face. Meanwhile, our hero is riding on Wara in his beast form, heading toward the volcano. Wara, feeling the intense heat, informs him he can't go any further. They've reached the crater's edge. He reassures Wara, saying it's okay, he can handle it from here. Curiously, Wara asks about his plan. With a flashy expression, he deadpans that he's going to extinguish the volcano's fire with his powers, which are pretty cursed, to be honest. Still, our hero looks so confident that maybe, just maybe, we should have a little faith in him. But this afternoon leaves Wara feeling very nervous, realizing that the Demon King in front of him is not what he imagined. With Ichinose, when his system detects a scorching heat around him, it levels up his skill called Snow Heresy. This is a defensive skill meant to counter the surrounding heat. With this skill, his enemies and the area around him freeze, boosting his defensive abilities. Now our boy finally understands the psychology of this curse. He decides to test out how this curse can work in his favor. For this, he strips off his clothes to let the system detect an increase in the heat around him. As a result, his Snow Heresy skill increases, and its duration extends to 5 minutes. But he isn't satisfied with this. With every passing minute in this heat, Snow Heresy continues to level up, reaching its limit. With this, he acquired a new skill called Full Metal Cold. Now, our player looks like a snow-made sculpture with a shiny body of ice. With that same flashy smile and cringeworthy expression, he is ready to tackle the heat of the volcano. Now he is completely confident in his ability to not only save the Beastmen, but also complete his mission. Back at the village, our tigress is also working hard to save her beast brethren. She displays the skills of a chief, as she once was, and orders the other beasts around for the rescue mission. Their first goal is to get the children to a safe place. Someone informs the chief about the constant rise in the fire, assuming that, at this point, the Demon King might flee. Mammon immediately interjects, defending him, saying he would never do that. At the same time, the Demon King's mission time is down to just 25 minutes. After seeing Mammon's unwavering faith in him, another beast can't help but comment on how she could be so sure that one guy could stop an entire volcanic eruption all by himself. Our ever-loyal tigress reminds them about the duel where he was hopelessly outmatched, but still found a way to tackle the challenge. So, he's probably figured something out this time as well. That's one of the perks of being a hero, albeit a cursed one. Everyone starts to wonder if he's really going to save the Beastmen. Before anyone can say more, a blue energy radiates from the volcano, catching everyone's attention. They're all stunned to see the eruption has actually stopped. With a smug smile, Mammon confidently declares that, of course, it was their Demon King who put a lid on this eruption. On the other side, our cold-hearted villain is watching all this drama unfold. Their eyes widen as they realize that our cursed hero has indeed stopped the eruption. They're in disbelief, especially since they'd heard that the Demon King's power was supposed to be sealed. Like good little rats, the underlings turn to their boss, asking for the next course of action since they can't go back to their tribe looking like losers. Now, our ninja leader has another trick up his sleeve and is looking as calm as a cucumber, exactly what you'd expect from someone of his caliber. He pulls out a kunai, and in his hand is a special amber infused with a curse by the demons of angels. This second-rate Kakashi deadpans that the curse has already reached 10% of its power. In other words, there's going to be a lot more entertainment ahead for his cold heart and blood-red eyes. Meanwhile, in the village, Enchi in his beast form decides to check whether the Demon King really stopped the eruption. However, he halts as another disaster catches his eye. Mount Kakero is about to collapse due to an explosion they weren't aware of. He immediately rushes to inform his tribe about the impending disaster. Before he can finish explaining how this is possible, they are silenced by a massive boulder from the volcano hurtling toward them. Mammon hurriedly pushes the chief aside to save him from the boulder. Now, like a domino effect, one boulder triggers a shower of rubble and stones. To save others, our brave tigress scoops them up while yelling at everyone to stay away from the falling debris. Amid the rubble, there are strange black flames surrounding the Beastmen, emanating from the remains of the mountain. The Beastmen affected by these flames feel weak and in intense pain. It's as if these flames are burning their very souls. The chief, realizing the gravity of the situation, is horrified to understand the origin of these black flames. At the same time, Gyro reveals to the subordinates that these flames are none other than cursed seeds. These ambers, or better said cursed seeds, are burning everything in front of their cruel eyes. Basically, grudge is the main ingredient of these ambers, and there's no better way to amass a grudge than through accidental death. Gyro states with cruelty how the eruption of Mount Kakero, once every few years, helps awaken this grudge. Now he is curious whether our hero can withstand the power of the cursed seeds and save everyone. On the other hand, the chief and others are seen inside the circle of fire. The chief states with a grave expression that they are surrounded by a fury of resentment that won't extinguish until they are nothing but ashes. He has now given up hope at this point. At that moment, Mammon stands up again, commenting on how the chief could be afraid of this kind of fire and complain about it. The chief asks about her next course of action. With a swift motion of her fist, Mammon declares that she is going to get everyone out of this damn fire. The chief retorts that she is wasting her energy attempting something impossible. She is just accelerating her own death, as she will run out of mana before she can understand that the fire has extended to 100 meters into the forest. Although she knows these things, she is determined to save everyone. She says with resolve that no matter how many times she falls, she will get up again. With renewed determination, she stands firm, declaring that she will rise again after falling because she now has a purpose to save everyone. She is not someone who can be stopped by some random fire. The chief is proud of her speech, and everyone else is moved by it, ready to help in the name of the Beastman race's pride. She solemnly states the reason they must stand together. Besides, she is also sure that the Demon King will fight to save everyone. Now, she encourages her tribe fellows to unite their power to save everyone from the fire. On the other hand, Ichino sees how the fire is getting stronger. He now understands that the dark flames come from the cursed seeds. Suddenly, his curse activates, telling him that he will be unable to identify the effect of the attack on him due to the psychological attack he is under. He curses the new information, as the mental pressure is too much for him to bear. Moreover, the power of the cursed seeds is much stronger than what he experienced in the game. Suddenly, a horrifying monster emerges from the magma, which seems like the cursed seed monster, born from the resentment of dead in the fire. To check his eyesight, the Demon King tries to attack the cursed seed monster, but it dodges swiftly. Now he understands that he doesn't have any issues with dodging the attack itself. Our hero has a tactic and rushes towards the monster, concluding that it's a slow monster because of its size. However, the downside is that it is swift enough that the Demon King is unable to land a hit. While climbing on the lava wall, he needs to find the monster's weak point to defeat it. However, the monster has other plans. With a shriek, it releases a swarm of ghosts that rush towards our hero. These small purple skulls pierce his body and come out from the other side. He feels as if these skulls are pulling his soul from his body. Suddenly, one of the skulls tears his soul's connection to his left arm, leaving him unable to feel it. He realizes that whatever these skulls do to his soul will also affect his body. He looks at the monster, thinking it was just leisurely feeding while he assumed it was a slow-moving creature. On the contrary, the monster is playing around like a not-so-little predator. Ichino starts to understand the monster's strategy. He's not foolish enough to miss the tactic. Meanwhile, as he's thinking this, the monster's large hand comes rushing down from above. This time, he's alert and dodges the attack. But as he moves to evade, a skull minion waits for him and strikes his soul again. The attack on his soul catches him completely off guard. There's no way to dodge or defend against it. Seeing the skulls piercing and feeding on his soul makes him realize that he might be stuck here. At this rate, escaping the mess and completing the mission seems like a far-fetched dream. Now he is completely clueless as the skulls continue to drain his soul. Back at the Beastmen village, everyone is under the effect of cursed flames to the extent that their bodies are no longer under their control. Enchi, who is also affected by the cursed seeds, begs his pregnant wife to run away as she can still be saved. Mammon, who is observing her tribesmen going on a rampage, wonders about the reason for all of this. It seems like it's not just a natural occurrence with the cursed seeds. However, she also goes on a rampage in this moment under the effect of the cursed seeds. She growls at the chief and others while warning them to run away. In urgency, she wants them to stay away from her while she is still conscious. Meanwhile, Gyro and his minions, who are watching all of this commotion as spectators, exclaim about how this shows the power of the resentment. The more they absorb the grudge contained by the cursed seed, the more their souls are corrupted. As a result, they lose control of their consciousness. Consequently, these people are nothing but puppets in the hands of the grudge they hold, which could be the result of them murdering their kinsmen. With Mammon and others, the brave tigress is trying her best not to succumb to the resentment. When she voices this aloud, it also encourages others to follow her lead. They are determined not to stoop so low as to surrender to their resentment, which is against their honor as Beastmen. At this moment, everyone is calling for their loved ones. At the same time, in the magma, our boy is swimming and trying to save himself from the monster that is sucking his soul. Suddenly, he spots Mammon's soul among others about to be sucked by the monster. He observes the current condition of the monster, which is becoming stronger and bigger as it absorbs more souls. Then, he notices a big shiny hole in the center of its body and concludes it must be the source of the power it is using to store the souls it is going to suck. With this realization, he rushes toward the monster with renewed determination. Meanwhile, Mammon loses consciousness and leans against a tree in front of the chief, who now understands the need to defeat this curse and recover the souls of everyone in order to save them from dying. Suddenly, he sees a burst of lava erupting from the mountain. When he looks behind, his eyes widen as he sees the cursed seed monster emerging from the volcano. Another piece of bad news for the chief is that the system has informed everyone that the cursed seed has evolved into a chaos seed. The reason for this evolution is that it absorbed the Demon King's soul. What was the Demon King's plan? Has he been absorbed by the cursed seed, or is he alive inside it? The chief, on the other hand, is petrified by the sight of the cursed seed's evolution. He looks as though he is waiting for his turn. At the same time, our cruel ninja is quite pleased, noting that the result of this seed is beyond what he had expected. He comments with a chuckle that this wave would kill not only one Demon King, but also Beastmen as his allies. His lackey tells him that he has spotted something or someone inside the body of the cursed seed. The chief and Gyro suddenly realize that the Demon King is inside the cursed seed's body. Meanwhile, inside the core of the cursed seed, the Demon King burns with anger as the cursed seed dares to absorb his soul without his permission. He scoffs at the idea of this monster sucking his soul as if he would allow it if asked politely. When he spots its heart with an evil smile on his face, he taunts the monster, questioning what it would feel like if he were to destroy it. Whether the cursed seed understands his question or not, the chief and the legendary ninja Gyro realize what the Demon King is planning. The chief is shocked and wants to stop the Demon King from what he is about to do. On the other hand, Gyro is pleased with the Demon King's apparent foolishness. The Demon King, despite his new resurrection, lacks the power to accomplish something major. While touching the core, he realizes he doesn't have enough power to control the curse inside his body. However, an idea suddenly brightens his face. He decides to let the cursed seed absorb his soul, believing that this soul-sucking machine will also absorb his curse. This is the same curse that made his life miserable as soon as he entered the game. Now he wants to see what will happen when the cursed seed absorbs his miserable curse. At that moment, as if responding to the Demon King's thoughts, the system informs him that his curse has been elevated due to the influence of the cursed seed, now known as Amber. This is finally significant news for our player. The Chaos Seed now becomes the host for the curse that resides inside the Demon King. Suddenly, the aura of the cursed seed darkens even more. At the same time, the Beastmen cry and become tense as they witness the unfolding chaos. Like everyone else, the Dark Moon Squad is also worried about their fate. It seems that the angels, who were supposed to be benevolent, might not be as kind-hearted and could destroy their tribe if they fail the mission given by the so-called Angel Queen.
I think you kinda like this video, so just subscribe and like.